Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to Mama Birds. I'm Robin if you're new, and today we are making some soup. I pulled this leftover chicken out of the fridge, grabbed some extra veggies that were kicking around in there, just chopped them up, threw them in this bowl, and we are going to put together basically a fridge clean out soup. So we boiled this chicken. It was a leftover from barbecue night, and I just threw it in the pot, covered it with water, and put it on to boil. And once it actually did come up to a boil, I'm pulling it out now. I'm going to peel this chicken, throw it all back in, and discard the bones now that we've extracted all of that yummy goodness. But let me tell you, friends, we are so sick after our trip. I don't know what it is. I don't know what we got, but I have never been so violently ill in my life. And this is basically the first meal that we as a family ate since being home from our trip. That's a true tale too, is the amount of chicken that is left over here is 3 pieces, and we are a family of 3, so nobody really ate anything on that day, and it's because we were so ill. We couldn't keep anything down. It was just horrible, and having a toddler that is sick and a partner who's sick. Mike was super ill and I got it first, so it was just everybody was just suffering for a few days. And now coming to you from the future, I do feel much better, but it was at least 5 days of absolute horror. And so the soup was definitely much needed. So like you can see, I'm just now picking off the chicken, and I just ended up throwing it back into the pot. I didn't chop it up or fine it down or by any means whatsoever, because it was really the broth that we were going for my kiddo. And then we could just eat the larger chunks. It wasn't a huge deal, but usually I do chop up the chicken, but on this day there was zero energy. So just getting it into the pot was the biggest accomplishment. And so we get through the chicken. This is the last piece. I do end up discarding the skin. I just don't find it to be a very pleasant texture once it's been boiled. So we discard that bit, but definitely got the flavor out of it and all the good fatty goodness, and got all of that chicken in the pot. One thing can be said too about a chicken soup that's homemade is that it's never the same. I've never made a chicken soup from scratch from a recipe. I've never done it the same twice, and I don't think I've ever enjoyed soup more than when it's homemade and for the most part from scratch. So you can see here all the veggies are in there, all the meat's in there, some of the leftover stock. I'm putting in a scoop of the garlic that we preserved a little while ago, and then a handful of zucchini, which is a bit of a spoiler for the next video to come. We did pick these up on our way home. We're adding some these are frozen onions, and this is how I store them in my freezer. So I just give the bag a bang and they fall right out, and they're perfectly great to use in most recipes that I cook with onions. I use these frozen ones. Here's some frozen parsley that I chopped up. Whenever I buy fresh herbs, I always buy a bunch or 2 and chop all of it up at one time, and then I freeze it in Ziplocs, and it comes out perfectly fine. You wouldn't know it's frozen. It's beautiful. Here's some dill. Just chucking in a sprig of that dill, and fresh herbs, or I guess in this case they're frozen, but herbs in general just add such great value to your dish. Chili flakes, this is just to get our noses going. Like I said, we were so sick, so whatever I can do here is what I'm doing, and we're going to add it to the pot. Good old salt and pepper for the win on that one. And we're going to give it a stir and just kind of let it go for a little bit. I did end up putting about an eighth, maybe a little bit more than an eighth of a cup of rice into this, because I figured it needed to starch. I wasn't into chopping up potatoes, and I didn't want to deal with the starchy noodles. So I just added about a quarter of a cup maybe of rice, and threw that in there while it all simmered together and got nice, and it turned out beautifully. So At this point, I'm looking through my pantry trying to find things. I found some old chicken bouillon cubes. They weren't, I don't think they were actually expired, but they definitely needed to be used up. So I just threw it in. I was looking for something other, like I said, than potatoes or pasta. So I found that in, and then I ended up throwing in a handful of rice. Here we are serving the soup. I put it in a bowl and we ate it just like this, and with some saltine crackers, and it was delicious. I honestly, this is probably one of the best soups I've made in a long time, and it was so simple and so easy. And I think my favorite add-in was probably the tomatoes, but it was absolutely delicious and definitely hit the spot for us. That's it for this one. We're going to enjoy this soup and try and get better from our trip. I cannot wait to share with you what we got on our way home from Vancouver, and the series that we have coming up over the next couple of days. But I definitely need to be in better shape to take that on. So stay tuned, consider subscribing, and we'll catch you in the next one.